Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Gibson. How are you? I am the creator of Norm Therapy and the CEO of Norm Therapy, Inc. Born in Chicago, one of the busiest cities in the world. But at the same time, Chicago is one of the most culturally efficient places I have ever been, even though it has its undertones and overtones of racism and segregation from way back prior to the civil rights movement. It's still so diverse. And there's so many things to do there, so many things to see from down on Lake Michigan. You got the planetarium, the Field Museum, you have the parks all up and down uh, Michigan Avenue and Lakeshore Drive. You have the $1 Million Mile. You have all kinds of suburbs from Aurora to the north side, to the south side, to the west side. Of course, if you went east, you go right into the lake. That's why people say, normally they don't say I'm from the east of Chicago. When they do say it, they're talking about right there, normally on the edge of the lake. Beautiful place, freshwater lake, amazing summertime there I spent as a child. But the winters are brutal and people get shut in Chicago and they spend many, many months at a time in gray, dark, and pretty much inescapable places, as was such for many families when I was growing up in Chicago. They would find themselves, at the mercy of their proximity predators, the people who lived with them and that they can't get away from. You can't get away from your mom or dad or your uncle or some of your friends at school or your teachers or your parish leader or your church leader. You just can't get away from them. They're just with you in that community. And oftentimes when you're alone with them, or even when you're in an overt situation with them, they can brutalize you. They can hurt you. They can hurt you in ways that will have lasting effects for the rest of your life. I always tell people that experiential knowledge is everything. I mean, it just is. Experiential knowledge is everything. So what do? You try to chalk those experiences up as useful or useless in your life. And you really don't know that until you get much older, whether those experiences are useful or useless. But let's try to find out. We're going to talk tonight with a couple of my favorite people, Bobbi and Montes, and we're going to bring them in and have them talk to us about some of their childhood experiences, how they grew up, and just kind of peripherally give us a tour through then and now. Bobbi, Montes, would you mind coming in? Hey guys, how are you? Good to see
Hey,
you
what's up,
tonight.
man?
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, so I was talking to Bobbi and Montes prior, and then I was actually booted from this platform. That's never happened. Then I had to come back in. I didn't know they were still here, but I was wondering what had happened. And then I thought about it, and Bobbi said something that kind of chuckled me. She says, "We moved things around in the house, and upstairs is hot and downstairs is freezing cold. So if you see her in a t-shirt and Montes in a jacket, they're in the same house. It's that difference of a temperature. So that to me was kind of hilarious. But one of the things I want to do with our sessions, not marriage counseling, no. When people are creating norms in their lives, they have to start from sometimes, matter of fact, oftentimes not so normal places. And even if they did start from a normal place to start gauging where they are right now, it still isn't their norm yet until they decide what that norm is. I don't get to decide what Bobbi's norm is, and I don't get to decide what Monte's norm is. That's what they do. But they have to have enough information in order to make that assessment and make that judgment call. That's theirs. All I can do is pose questions and pose opportunities for memory, pose opportunities for realignments, and then they figure out what their normal is, and I help them down that path. That's all it is. And both of them have had some tremendous normals and tremendous abnormals in their life. They really have. And sometimes you just want to find that thread to go through them. So I'm going to start with Bobby, because of course, ladies first. Um, I want to ask Bobby a question. When you were a little girl, tell me, what was your best childhood memory?
My best childhood memory was my grandmother holding me on her lap, teaching me how to blow bubbles with Bubblicious grape bubble gum.
Good Lord, bubblicious. Well,
Yeah.
great, great. Ooh, that makes my mouth hurt just saying those words. Yeah, I don't do much sweets. I've never liked sweets. Maybe when I was a kid I did, but I don't remember really liking them. But yeah, bubblicious.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you. So what did she do? She took you out on her front porch. Bless you again.
No,
You
I remember she had a black leather chair sitting in the living room, a bunch of plants, like she was a plant and a cat woman. And she would just hold me on her lap. I must have been maybe 4 or 5, not very old. And she taught me how to blow grape bubble gum.
the big bubble.
Yeah,
The
she would blow these big bubbles and I would end up spitting my gum out. And I remember getting so mad that I couldn't blow a bubble.
How often did you do that?
A lot. I was with her a lot. I moved with my grandparents when my dad and mom divorced in 78.
Okay. So you guys were, when you were sitting there blowing bubble gum, your grandmother was like your center of the universe then.
Yeah.
If she's surrounded by your best memory, then she protected you, I'm assuming.
Yeah. She
And
did.
she nurtured you. How long was she in your life, your grandmother?
I lost my grandma in 98
Okay, so
to
some 20
Alzheimer's.
years later.
Yep.
And then you would go back and forth to live with them from your house, which was, I think, next door. And
My
then
dad's house was. My
your
dad lived
dad.
next door.
Okay.
And so when she died in 98, I went to prison. She died September 14th. I went to prison September 19th. When I
Hmm.
got out, I had also lost my dad in that time frame. So I
Right.
was around 24.
But he was 45 when he died, and it was
Yes.
20 years after you were sitting on her lap doing bubblicious that she died. These
Yeah.
must have been two big voids in your life. One was a positive void, um, that that was created because with the absence of your father, it kind of stopped directing you towards crime, even though you still stayed on that path.
Yeah.
Uh, but your grandmother was very devastating, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What kind of relationship did you have with your mom?
My mom was not in my life a lot up until from the time I went to kindergarten. I can remember her walking me to school on my very first day of school, right down to what I had on, and then not seeing her again for a long time after that, maybe on and off, but until I was really 16. And then there was a bunch of stuff happened with my dad when he busted a lot of people and they couldn't guarantee my safety at my grandmother's house. So I
I
moved
mean,
in
but
with
you
my,
mean when he told on them?
yeah, yep,
Okay, all right. So
yep.
okay, hold that thought for me. We could definitely coming back there. Montes, can you do me a favor? Can you tell me what was your best childhood memory?
Uh, reason is
I think you need to go out and come back in because you're completely, uh,
Frozen.
yeah.
Wait, he might be okay now.
Nope, he's still frozen on my end.
leave and come back.
Hold on. Okay, I, are you okay, Montes? Yeah, you guys need to leave and you
Yeah,
need
I'm
to
gonna
leave.
leave and come.
Hmm. Go ahead and check, leave
Okay,
and come back. Because if I remove you, you can't come back. So you need to leave and come back.
okay.
Oh, we are on the internet, everyone. Can you hear me okay, Bobby?
Yeah,
Okay. I think I'm showing up well on the live stream. I'm looking at it. Yeah, we're showing up very well, you and I. Yes. I think it's just Montez's connection. Okay, so Bobby, while Montez is away. One of the reasons I'm asking you to correlate your childhood on the path that you've been on most of your life, and so we can look at some of the bifurcations or the whys or the crossroads in your life and what woulda, coulda, shoulda. And we're going to move along that path in this conversation as soon as we get Montez back. I think it's important that in your decision-making process forward, and I think you already do this, and that's why I'm applauding you now up front, is a better decision to make once you go down a path these days with the forks in the road, what they call them bifurcations, and without hiding from yourself the truth about why you're there and which way you need to go and what the perils are on each one of those roads. A lot of times correlating where you are right now, especially with abuse victims, because one of the things I think you and Montes both suffer from the most, because you have done so much together and apart into your lives, is that you suffer from self-abuse more than anything else. I think you guys hold yourself to a higher standard that you oftentimes will fail because you don't have the right equipment and tools to do it. But now, later on in life, you've acquired that experience, those types of the tools and equipment to now do much better. And I think you're closer than that than anything else. Is if he doesn't come back for any time soon, and that's okay, we're going to continue with your session, okay?
Okay.
Okay. What was your grandmother's first name?
Maxine.
Okay, so Max, that's kind of a cool name. For a woman, that's a very cool name. I remember watching some movie some years ago, and the villain name was Maxine, but she was so cool, so down to earth that even the good guys liked her. She was just a cool villain. But I see Max as being a strong name, so you must have considered her to be like your
She
ace.
was my rock. She was. She's like the only person in my whole life that I feel has ever loved me unconditionally.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
What does unconditional love feel like to you? If you could describe.
No matter what I've done, said, been through, where I've been, what I've done, nothing defers her love from me. Like, I know when I go to my grandma's house or when I went there, I could get in her bed and she would pet me and tell me it was going to be okay. Even to this day, when I get really upset, I get sleepy because my brain, that's like my happy place that I go to where she's petting me, telling me it's going to be all right.
So while she's caressing you, telling you everything's going to be all right, did you really believe her?
I don't know if I believed her, but I was soothed by that.
So you believed her. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Do you miss that?
Definitely.
Do you need that?
Yeah.
Remember we talked about how to appreciate one another not too long ago? Have you guys had that talk yet? Have you guys had that talk?
Well, we did, and it just didn't. I don't want to say this in like a cruel kind of way, but sometimes it's all or nothing. And so if we mess up one little time, it's just like throw everything out the window.
It takes practice. The appreciation thing takes a few sessions with each other, not just one or two. It may take 15 sessions.
Yeah.
It's not because you're not listening. It's never because you're not listening when it comes to trying. It's always because you're not digesting. Sometimes you listen to something, but it's impossible for you to digest it because you're not there yet. That's all. But once you hear it enough times and you see it only one way, and the only way it can ever be seen is in context. Once you see each other's appreciation and the contextualization of your relationship and how you live and how you work and how you survive and how you make money and how you interact with one another, in that contextual framework, appreciation starts to make sense. But if you're looking at something out of context, just based on what somebody says, like for instance, When I get into a car, the funny thing about me is when I get into an old car, it's impossible for me to breathe. I don't know if it's a phobia. And when I get in, I smell that old smell and I just get out, get some air, and I get back in. And of course, I'll complete the ride. But if to appreciate me, so whoever the owner of the car is, to let me bring my little, I used to take little plastic bottles of air freshener, car freshener, and make it smell like new cars, and I was fine. I did that for years. Now I no longer have that problem, but that to appreciate me, people would allow me to do that. It was this idiosyncratic thing that I did. So appreciation may not be comfortable for them. They may not like the smell of evergreen or whatever it was that I sprayed. They may not like it, but they knew it made me okay. And I could withstand being around them in that setting or environment. But when it's all or nothing sometimes, especially in a relationship, when it's all or nothing, you got to pick and choose your battles. And it can't be on the whole premise of appreciation. It has to be on something about the system of appreciation that you guys create. So it's going to fail a few times. Absolutely, without a doubt. Even if Montez sits and says, sure, I can appreciate it like that. Sure, I could do this. Sure, no problem. Sure, of course I could do that. If all of that were true, you wouldn't even have to have the appreciation talk because he's already doing it. You get it? So it can't be true. And it never will be true for any couple, any relationship on the planet. It will never be true. And that's what people go into. And I'm going to come to you in a minute, Montes, on this, but I was telling somebody today that I'll ask you both this question. I'll ask Montes this question, then I'll come back to finish yours out, Bobby. Montes, tell me something. Which is more important to you? Positive thinking or negative thinking?
I think it'll be negative.
And I think you're right. Negative thinking is much more important than positive thinking because people indirectly do what, Montes? Do you know? Since you said negative.
They think negatively.
Exactly. But not only do they think negatively, let me qualify that for you. Over 70% to 80% of all of your negative thoughts go unnoticed to you. You don't know that you are negatively thinking 70 to 80% of the time because it disguises itself as rational thought. But in reality, it's just another form of negative thinking. Now, we all know that the ratio from positive to negative is 5 to 1. So it takes 5 good thoughts to knock down to eradicate one bad thought. I got to move the other way because, of course, I'm on this camera. But so 5 to 1 ratio. But what is actually happening is when you are thinking negatively, you'll do things like complain. The first sign of negative thought is a complaint. When you're complaining, that's negative thinking. Because complaining does what? Nothing. I can complain all day about the heat in this place, this office, and I'm just feeling so bad, but nothing can be done about it until I turn on the air conditioning. Why complain? The second thing we do to make rational thought out of negativity is we're concerned. Oh, I'm concerned that the school may not have the right kind of curriculum. What are we talking about here? I mean, they're teaching kids X, Y, and Z, and they're burning books, or they're hoarding books, or they're showing us different books. Concern. Concern is good when it's practical and it makes sense and it's logical and commonsensical, and we all understand the same thing. Concern is good, normally for human well-being, welfare of animals, or your home. But then we disguise our negativity with catastrophe. We catastrophize things together. Hey, Bobby, Montes, don't you just hate those damn people that just moved down the street? They're going to just ruin the whole neighborhood and mess everything up. And then they're going to run an association. They just da 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 da. We catastrophize. We make it 10 times worse than what it really is. And another way we disguise our negative thought is we're consistently beating on ourselves without the opportunity or the knowledge of how to judge ourselves. We make sure we do a bad job. We talk negative to ourselves about our own performance when it is impossible for us to even assess ourselves. So we hide all of this negativity. I can think about 50 other ways. Here's the last one, and I'll let you go between a consistent barrage of negativity. But here's the most important one that causes you the most problems, is commiserating. Okay. Hey, Montes, I'm so sad, bro. I'm not gonna get paid this week because I know these sons of bitches are not gonna pay me at work, and they just treat me bad. And you go, yeah, me too, man. They treat me like crap too, and I don't know what to do, man. We need to go out and get our thing, and then do something else, and blah 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 blah. That thought, all of those different areas, from concern to commiserating, is negative thought, and you don't even know you're doing it. When you say things sometimes, Montes, you're good at saying, not me, I'm not going to do that. Did we lose Montes? We'll say, not me, we're not going to do that. That's negative thought. It should never be about what you're not going to do. Whenever you say what you're not going to do, you've just told the whole conversation and all of his listeners and participants, you just told them that you're out. I'm out. What you're not going to do. Now, that's a difference with what you're not going to put up with. You have to have your boundaries. So when you say I'm not going to put up with something, that's one thing. But when you say I'm not going to do something, that's definitely another. So I want to add that to your appreciation model. And I'm going to get back to you now, Bobby, since you're here. I'll get back to the appreciation model. And that model has to do with practice. It has to do with taking what I just said about the negativity and that we bring to our lives, and we don't even know we're doing it. Take that and put that on your appreciation model. And so when you guys are talking, let's not talk about, remember I just said let's, that hortatory command, but let's not talk about what we can't do. Let's talk about what we can do. Let's not start off with saying, well, I'm not gonna do this because X, Y, and Z. Because the minute you say, I'm not, or what we can't do, or what we won't be able to do, the minute you do that, you've just destroyed a portion of your bridge of communication. Does that make sense to you? I know you're a very practical woman, and I just want to know, you okay, brother?
Yeah, this thing, I'm struggling with it, man. It's saying low bandwidth on the
Is it plugged in?
Yes.
Okay. Should be all right now.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Montes. Are you there? Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm here.
So let's go back to your best childhood experience.
I remember in the 80s when I was my grandmother.
This is highly understand. We can't understand a word you're saying. Would it be okay if you both just sat in the same room together and talk?
Yeah.
Why don't you go upstairs and sit with, or downstairs? I'm not sure which way you're going. Why don't you go up or down with Bobby and just sit on hers, and that way we can get your.
I can go upstairs.
And then close this one out because we cannot understand anything you're saying.
Okay, I'll come there.
Okay. I'll give you a minute to get situated there with them. You can go off screen. I'll talk to the audience until you get situated. Okay, Bobby?
Okay. Give me like 30 seconds.
No problem. No problem. Okay. Bottom line is sometimes we don't know, for our audience out there, we don't know who people are in our lives truly unless we have a complaint with them. We don't really know unless we have concerns for them. We don't really know them unless we have some level of commiseration with them. We don't really know them until we have some level of consistency with barraging and hurting them or ourselves in our self-thought or our self-think. And of course, in our situation of just trying to catastrophize and make everything worse, we have to be careful of that. So when we get to know someone, we look through all of these negativities first. Hey guys, okay, Montes is in the blur. Okay, wow, okay, there we go. And got a background. Yay, there we go. Good background. All right, so bottom line is what we actually are doing here when we're talking about appreciation, we're talking about what we can do. That's why the word appreciate is being used as our operative word and not depreciate. Depreciation is taken away, appreciation is added. So let's talk about what we can do to appreciate. What was the first thing when if you give me your first memory again, Montes, I'd like that very much.
My first memory of what you just asked me before?
Yes, what was the best childhood memory?
Yeah, so my grandma used to come from Chicago. That's the only time we ever seen my grandmother or my mom way back in the day. They used to come and bring Christmas toys. And my favorite one was my grandmother. She brought me a My Buddy doll. Yeah, and I I love my doll, until Chucky came out.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. And so she gave you that. How did you feel?
Well, my Ella mama gave me this doll. This I'm keeping this forever.
There you go. You still got it.
No.
Okay. No. Okay. So you got this doll and it fulfilled something for you. It showed you, I'm thinking that person that you found as like Bobbi, your grandmother, was like the center of the universe.
Yeah, I think for me it wasn't the fact that she gave me this. It wasn't what she gave me, it was that she gave it. And so she gave it, that mean I got the
I got it. But it brought you happiness.
Yeah.
Because you had not only her to look forward to, you had the opportunity to be with something you wanted and you was given and it was a gift. I think that's a great childhood memory. It could have been something that set a better standard for the route you did take. But I always tell people it's not the people around you that shape you. Everybody thinks, oh, because you hang out with the wrong kids or you hang out with your mom and dad treated you bad. No, it's not necessarily that. It's your environment, the whole of your environment that shapes you. That's why twins can grow up in the same house and one grow up straight, the other one grow up gay. One grew up a criminal, the other one grew up a priest. That's why that can happen. Mm-hmm. So environment. So whatever they're exposed to in these environments, which is a multiplicity of things, it's difficult to determine what things cause a person to take this left turn and what make this person make a right turn. Those influences of your environment. What was the worst childhood experience you had, Bobbi? Childhood.
Probably the worst childhood experience I had was not I want to say like with my dad, but really it was when I got jumped behind him telling on a lot of people. I got beat up pretty bad by adults behind his telling on people.
Okay.
Like I said, at the time I didn't know. I didn't know what he was doing to me, that wasn't normal or, really what the extent of that damage was. But I can remember getting beat up by some, their last name was Vasquez. Mm-hmm. And I always hung out with older adults, even when I was younger, and they caught me. It was in the spring, and he had busted them that past winter, like a whole bunch of people, And they caught me down at my Aunt Teresa's house at the end of the street by myself, walking.
When
And
you say
they
beat you up, what does that look like?
huh?
When you say beat you up, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, today I have like a little cut by my eye, and when my eye was swollen, the cut was like right here. My grandmother had to take me to an optometrist to get stitches. It was that close to my eye.
So they meant to hurt you because of what your father was doing.
Yeah,
I had done. Okay.
yeah,
Very sorry to hear that must have been a very traumatic experience, of course.
yeah, it was.
Okay, now I want to go back to you, appreciation, Montes, if I can. Um, do you understand what I meant by the whole negativity conversation?
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not asking you in a vein as if you didn't know. I'm asking you in the vein of, are we on the same sheet of music when it
Yeah,
comes, right?
yeah.
The only way it's ever going to work, period, it doesn't even matter, is if we start having that let's and we and us dialogue, those collective talks and hortatory commands that we use with one another in
Hmm.
speech. Uh, and it can never be about what we won't do. It can be about what you won't put up with if it's within the parameters of your boundaries. It can absolutely be that. To be healthy, you have to have boundaries. And the other person will try to push those boundaries because that's normal. Everybody will only ever do what they want to do to each other because they think they can get away with it. And that's why they do it. That's it. But it doesn't mean that they're trying to get away with something to hurt you, but they think that they should have that leeway or that space to go across that boundary because it's them. You have that familiarity with them. When you were in your appreciation speech with Bobbi Moses, tell me, what did you not like about your appreciation conversation?
My appreciation conversation.
Yeah.
You talking about just as far as me just letting her know that I appreciate her? When
No, what do you need in
oh,
order to
what do
be
I need?
appreciated? What do you need to be
Oh,
appreciated? What does she need to be feel appreciated? So when you're in that conversation, because if people enter into that conversation thinking that, hey, I appreciate you because of this, that, and this, that, you're not, that's good. And it's a great compliment and it makes a lot of sense. But that's not the objective. The objective is to tell her what you need to feel appreciated and be in that mode of appreciation and gratitude and thankfulness and all of that, and her to be the same. What do you need?
I think what I need, um, I need I'm gonna say acknowledgement, but I'm not gonna say it like
Don't say that. That's a great word. What are you talking about?
oh
That's probably one of the
it's
best words you can say.
it's because if I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do, I want to be recognized. I don't want to. I want a humility based recognition. I don't want to be praised and all of this, but the understanding come behind all of that. You know what I'm saying? And
It's hard to be
some
thanked sometimes when you've never been appreciated, bro.
yeah,
I know exactly what you're saying. Like if you do something and then somebody says to you, "Oh, thank you so much. You did such a great job with that, and this, that, and the other, da, da, da." And you're like, "Wait, hold on a second. Hold
yeah,
on. I just want you to know that I did it and you appreciate it." And appreciation looks different than thankfulness sometimes.
yeah,
It does. It just looks different and it almost looks perfunctory.
yeah.
Not to complain about what you do, Bobbi, or not. It almost looks perfunctory. So the best thing to do instead of thanking somebody and really going overboard is just be subtle and meaningful. More importantly, the approach than anything else. And the more subtle you are, like, just walk up behind you as you finish putting the last touches on the screw or the wrench that you tightening something up. Just put your hand on your shoulder and just touch you a little bit and maybe kiss you on the back of your head. That is like coup de grace. You just killed it right there. It's over. It's over
Yeah.
because the acknowledgement is there, the appreciation is there, the love is there, and it's subtle and it's a part of the flow of the conversation and activity. That's just a different way instead of saying, "Man, I'm so glad you fixed that sink. Boy, we'd have never, man, you did such a great job. You should go, man. Is the upstairs the same way?" Maybe that conversation can be had after the subtle approach. Like, let's talk about the basement shower now that we need to fix, or something like that. And when it's done to me, I don't appreciate it. When
Yeah.
people overly thank me, I don't appreciate it. But I have to say something in Bobbi's defense, because getting to know Bobbi all these weeks and listening to her, she's very direct. She's clear about what she has to say and do most of the time. Would you agree with that? So
Yeah.
her thanking you is probably clearly what she means in no uncertain terms, no like hidden agenda or anything. But very few people are like Bobbi in that regard. Because most people, when they say thank you, they kind of lower themselves a little bit, not to cower under, but to show subservience oftentimes because something was done for them. And they go, oh, thank you very much. I surely appreciate it. And Bobbi's just not that type, although she can be. And I've seen her do it with you, even on live. Even today, she defers to you. She will not, like, if she has a problem with something, she won't say, but I can read between the lines and understand. She won't say that to me. She won't speak down about you. She won't talk down about, she don't like some of the things you do and say, but she will never put you down. Even when the police were in your home, she had one dialogue with me on here and another one with the police. They were trying to give her a reason to put you in jail. She would not give it to them. I bet you appreciate that.
Yeah.
Of course, exactly. So, and Bobbi, I'm just using you as the example because this is in living color. We're right here talking to one another, and so appreciation comes in many forms. The subtler, the better, especially with a person like Montes. He's been a volatile human being his whole life, and he's very reactionary to a lot of things. He really is very reactionary. And what you're doing as his wife is trying to get him to respond to you and not react. So sometimes, not that you need to walk on glass shells or eggshells or broken glass around him. That's not the point. But you do need to have to consider another way of communication. Not because it's a bad way of communication, it's just different. And it's more accessible to his better nature. Just like I'm sure, he said, well, sometimes, you're not the most loving and affectionate person. But I bet what he does sometimes when he's tickling the back of your neck, I'm just exaggerating, that could be the case, that you'll laugh and smile. Next thing you know, you're hugging and kissing, and that's your husband. You get it? So everybody make adjustments in who they are in order to deal with the other person. You just do that, but you should do it. And they call them, and I want you guys to understand this word, this is very important. They call them acts of volition. When these are acts of volition, it has to be your own voluntary acts that you don't have to prompt her to say thank you. You don't have to prompt him to grab you by the hand and walk you through the store and get the cart for you and push it over to you. You don't have to prompt him to drive to the store. Now he has his license, of course. And you don't have to prompt you to go. These are acts of voluntary things that you do out of the goodness of your soul and heart and in the best interest of your relationship and your family. Bless you again. Are you sick or is it
I'm catching it. I'm catching it.
Okay, I don't want to hold you up too much. If you can't make it through this, you just let me know. But I'm gonna try and make sure you get out of here on time tonight. So when you're talking appreciation and old experiences, like those two best experiences, the reason I ask you though is, and I ask you to describe those, is because that feeling that you have in your heart in that moment is probably what you've been looking for your whole life with everyone. That feeling, when you trust one of your boys, Montes, you want to feel good when you say X to boy, he walks away, you go, that's my guy. Good guy right there. You got your little Chucky thing or whatever you call it. What do you call it? So you got that same emote, same emotion. And when your grandmother would just soothe you and caress you and make you feel not just safe, but like, you know what? I'm so damn safe, I can go sleep. Even to this very day, you said you get sleepy when you're confronted with something. You got to get yourself together. Most people recess into their sleep when it's just too overwhelming. So we have to watch that too. That's not as healthy as you might think. But if it soothes you, then Self-soothing is okay as well. Anybody ever heard of Ferberism?
Barbarism.
Ferberism. Speaking on the term of self-soothing, if you want to know why you're probably so agitated, you both grew up in an era of Dr. Ferber. If you ever look this guy up, his name is Dr. Ferber. He created a technique where he wanted babies to self-soothe. So often parents learn from people like Dr. Spock, Dr. Ferber, and a few of these people from the 70s, 60s, and 80s. They learned these tremendously bad techniques that they now today know, and it only takes about 1 or 2 generations for people to realize that the crap they learned is BS, and it hurts the child more than it helps them. But one of the biggest reasons for sociopathic behavior in the United States is because of Dr. Ferber. What he did was he said that you should allow a baby to scream themselves out. When they start crying, don't pick them up. Just let them lay there and scream. Let them holler. How can you have a child? And his idea was to allow them to self-soothe. And once they go to sleep, then they'll be okay. And that's the furthest thing from the truth, because a toddler or a baby cannot develop self-soothing skills until they are in more around 5 or 6 years old. So at 1, 2, and 3, and 4, those very formative years and very critical years, they can't do that. So they learn to say, may I say this in the most vulgar? No, I'll just say it in a nice way. They learn to say F it. Doesn't matter. F it. Oh, you want me to rob the store? No problem, I'll rob it. You want me to hurt mom? Okay, I hurt her. Oh, I'll steal a car tonight. No, go ahead. The leading cause of sociopathic behavior in the United States is Dr. Ferber method, Ferberism. More adults have grown up now, and they see this lack of empathy they have, and they don't understand it. So we have to reteach ourselves how to self-soothe, how to be okay when I had an argument with somebody over the last couple of days when we were just going back and forth, but it wasn't so critical that it was dire, but it was very important. And I finally had to just give in to myself and just have a nice conversation. After I made all my points clear. Now, it was really confrontation more than anything else, but most people would view it as an argument because it was a back and forth, to and fro thing. Sometimes you have to stop for a minute and self-soothe. You have to do this to your body. You have to grab your arms like you're doing right now, Montes, and self-soothe you, even though that's helping you, flu or cold or whatever you got going there. But you have to do it. And you have to do it to one another. Not self-soothe them, because that's impossible. But your self-soothing should be reflexive on them. Mm-hmm. It should benefit them that you're soothed. It shouldn't be that you go off to sleep when you self-soothe, Bobbi. It should be that you turn to your husband, you figure out a way forward, which I'm always thinking you do. She's that practical. She's a very practical person. And so are you, Bobbi. I mean, Montes, but you sometimes fly off the handle. You will not do certain things. That is going to cause more problems than anything else in your relationship. Because there are many things when I was married that I never thought I would do with any human being on a planet. And give in to certain ideas and rulings and adjustments. Never thought I would do it. But when I saw harmony created as a result of doing them, even though I was older and wiser and I knew a lot of stuff, and I knew what I would do and what I wouldn't do, it made for a better life. It just did. It made for a better life. Just, it's not, and I hear when people say a happy wife, a happy life. I don't think that's true. I think a life without strife is a happy life. You can't be based on a wife while you're happy. It can't be based on a husband while you're happy. It has to be based on you. The only person that can make you happy is you. But you have to accept that appreciation. When she told you what she needed for appreciation, Montes, do you remember what she needed?
I don't remember having the conversation, honestly.
Okay. Well, do you remember it, what you needed, what you told him you needed, Bobbi?
Yeah, I just told him just say good job or just and acknowledge whatever it was that I was doing.
Is that too much to ask, Montes?
No,
Of course not. Okay, but you know why you didn't remember it? It is not a bad thing, but do you know why you didn't remember it?
I would like to think that it was because of everything I got going on the last dang on 4 days.
You know, that's probably partially true, but it can't be majorly true because all things in your life that you're doing, I'm assuming, is to bring it back to you and your family. So when your wife says she needs your appreciation in X, that should be more important than everything you're doing. Believe it or not, even though you're still giving priority to the stuff you're doing and you got your head in a different space, your wife is very important too. She's not trying to crowd you and say, look, forget what you're doing and just think about my appreciation. She's trying to say, you know, in the midst of all of this, I'm with you, but this is what I need while we're moving forward. I'm pretty sure that was the message. And so, you know, sometimes when you get busy in thought, you forget that the people around you, the number one reason for failure of anything in life is not respecting it. The number one reason, anything, whether you lose a job, you don't respect it. Whether you lose a girlfriend, you don't respect it. Whether you lose a place in the university because you didn't respect the hours, the curriculum, the this, the that, the other, and you didn't do the work. But if you start with respect with everything you do, all other things will fall in line. Everything. It doesn't matter. But she needs to know that she's more important or just as important as everything you have on your mind. Because without you, she's not your wife. And without her, you're not her husband. So you have to do this ambos or together. You have to do it together. It's a collective act. What did you tell her you most needed was to be subtly acknowledged? Now, I told you that was the most powerful thing you could have said. I think what we do, it's like the faro, or that's not a Mexican Spanish. It's like the lighthouse. The lighthouse. It's always on, always going around, and everybody's trying to beat those ships passing each other without crashing in the dark. And I think that the big mistake that we're making in our relationships is that sometimes we have to crash. Sometimes you have to bump into each other. Not catastrophically. But sometimes you got to know each other's out there and where you are and make those mistakes and make those concessions, make those right turns and left turns and hit a little bit. Practice makes perfect. It does. And I think that what you guys are doing, and I think you're smart people, both of you, you're cunning more than anything else.
Yeah.
There are people in the world. Bobbi did something the other day, and so does you. Y'all both, Bobbi like talked about this book she has where everything you need to know from A to Z to XYZ is right there. She pulled it out. And it's all experience. It's all brain housing group. It's all everything you need to know to be better and do better once you're in a circumstance that falls in with the confines of this book. You do it a different way. You say, wait a minute, if I need to detail cars, if I need to go and walk dogs, or whatever I need to do to make my family, be a custodian, be a licensed counselor, whatever I need to do, I'm gonna, in earnest, do my best to be there. You guys have a winning formula. If you take out the animosity of each other's wants, bless you again, brother. If you take out the animosity, sometimes you feel negative about something she says because you think she's encroaching on your territory or your decision-making process or your manhood. Sometimes she may feel the same way about you, that you're encroaching or you're asking too much of her. So we have to be wary and we have to be appreciative of that other person, but also respectful more than anything else. I'm giving you this long-winded thing because we've come to a crossroads in our relationships. today is supposed to be Bobbi's last session, and I don't want it to be. I really want her to do a few more of these Sunday things so we can get more of you guys working into this. But we're going to talk about that, Bobbi, because this is our 20th session with you. And you, Montes, you're coming up, I think, on 14, so you're going to have like six sessions left. And I wanted to hear from both of you in our upcoming section next Sunday, what it is and where we are with our progress.
Yeah.
And kind of you guys take the helm of the conversation and ask me questions and talk about where you are, where you're going, what you need, what you don't need, and go from there. I think that kind of scheduled events will help us a lot. Both of you, when I say cunning, and I want to get back to that statement again, and hopefully Bobbi will be able to do a little bit more with us, hopefully. But when I say cunning, I don't mean that in any negative way. Let me just clear things up. Some people, I know people who can read an encyclopedia and then spit it back, every single word to you. And they're dumb as rocks. They don't have common sense to walk themselves down the street. I mean, some people are so smart, they're stupid. I know a lot of those people. Or some people are so beyond, or not even beyond. Some people are so beneath themselves and others that they don't understand that they are brilliant or they're wonderful and they can do things, but they don't think they can. So, of course, they never do anything. So, you guys are neither of those things. You're both just smart and cunning people who've just gone down two ridiculous paths for you, terrible paths. That's it. And now you're coming off those paths and you got to stay there. That's a hell of a story. I mean, with recidivism, I think it's what, 70, 80% you said, Montes?
2/3,
2/3.
66. Yep.
Okay. 66% of people go back, and we got a couple, both with similar histories, still together. If you stay on this path, I think, and if you stay on this path for each other and not just for yourself, I think you'll be fine. I really do, without a stretch of imagination. But there's some questions that I'm being asked to ask you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay, guys?
Yeah.
How did it make you feel, Bobbi? They wanted to ask. Now, I think you've clarified this a long time ago, but for this new audience member, I wanted you to clear this up. How did it make you feel not to have your mother there? And what led your mother to not being in your life?
My mother chose what she told me was that my grandparents could provide a better life for me, and that's why she was gone. It made me feel like all I wanted was my mom, like my whole life. So
When did your mother depart?
it'll be 2 years in November.
So had your relationship ever gotten any better?
The last 2 years of her life, it was as best as it was going to get for what I've always wanted as a little girl.
How did she die?
Cirrhosis of the liver.
Drinking?
Yeah, she drank all of her 20s and 30s, and then she stopped. And she had like hepatitis C, and then she took a some kind of thing that made that like undetectable. And she was doing pretty well. Like she wasn't drinking at all. She might have took a sip every 6 months or at a graduation party or something like that. But she almost killed a little boy when she was drinking, and that was the end of her drinking, and she never drove again in her life. That was like back in 19, I think her mom died in 88 and her sister died in 90, and she really never drove after that.
That's a touching reminder of just how precious life is.
Yeah, and so then it caught back up with her, and I was there when she took her last breath. So
I know how you feel. My mom actually died in my arms, so I know exactly how you feel. Cancer, terrible death. My mom had one of the worst deaths you can possibly imagine. So I'm sure you know. She took a last breath in your face, and I'm sorry to hear that. What about you, Montes?
What about it?
Your mom?
Oh, my mom's still living.
I know, but did you talk to us? Also, you talk to your dad.
No, I'm not gonna.
That's what I'm saying. To you, that void in your life is really the same as Bobby's void because you don't have, and she doesn't have. One's alive and one's dead. But we'll talk about that our next session if you like, because that'll eat up the rest of the minutes of the time.
Yeah,
Would you
yeah.
like to talk about the next session?
Yeah, we can. I got a mouthful for you.
I'm sure. I'm sure you do. Excuse me, you got me clearing my throat over here. Okay. Listen, guys, I enjoyed this session tonight. Bobby, hope you can stay on a couple more weekends with us until we close everything out, until he gets his 20th session. And then we'll be ending our live streams. We'll probably start with another group of people. There'll be different norm therapists doing this. But yours will be going down in history as the first. And as we grow our company and we finish funding norm therapy, I do believe that these will be the most popular videos in our arsenal. I think everybody's going to go back to see what we're all about, and they're going to look at you both. You're not perfect, but no one else is on the planet. But you're doing your damn level best. Even if you have bumps in the road, that's a good thing. You never find your strengths in your strengths. You find your strengths in your weaknesses. That's where you find your strengths. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to lose. It's okay to take 2 steps back and 1 forward every now and then, because that just resettles you into your own belief systems, your own selves, your own paths forward. Anyway, if you have enjoyed and got something out of today's session, please show your support by sharing this video, subscribing to our channels, making comments, of course, and of course, liking it. Our next norm therapy session with Montes will be Tuesday, March 6th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please go to goaro, Goaro.org, goaro.org, or normtherapy.com, normtherapy.com, to explore our opportunities and seek help for yourself or someone needing our services. And that means our sessions with a norm therapist or help with abuse in any type. We deal with all kinds of abuses, from child abuse to sexual abuse to financial abuse, self-abuse, physical, you name it. We deal with 21 different abuses. Go to our websites on especially goaro.org, which is our nonprofit, registered 501c3 with the IRS. Go and check us out. As a public charity, we are. If you're interested in applying to participate in our live stream as a victim or survivor, please contact us at contact@normtherapy.com. And if also you're interested in joining us and becoming a norm therapist, also go to the contact@normtherapy.com and make your interest known. Or go to our website at goaro.org and fill out the applications in the jobs area, I think it's, or the career areas. Bobbi, Montes, you're an amazing couple. I wish you all the best. I can't wait to talk with you about your mom on Tuesday, I'm sorry, Montes. And of course, hopefully we'll see you again on this upcoming Sunday, Bobbi. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, guys.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.